Hello, hello, and welcome to our latest episode of the Xbox Corner. I am CMoney, and I am joined by the always lovely Doodle.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for rocking out with us today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, this here, this was the piece of news I was hoping would come our way. Not too long ago, there was an interview with Phil Spencer where they talked about a handheld, and that's when the handhelds, were first kind of popping out. And he was like, "Listen, I don't see why we can't consider these handhelds as Xbox handhelds. They do a lot of the same features." And I was always like, "Man,
But they're
as
not,
cool as
Phil.
it is,
They're
it's
not.
not, bro. It's not an Xbox. I want to turn it on. I want my Xbox screen, the dashboard there. I want to just play my Xbox games and not think anything of it." But of course, Phil Spencer coming through as he does and dropping some bars for us. Um, let's go ahead and read the interview with again Polygon did this interview during GDC. It's titled "An Handheld Xbox. Microsoft's gaming chief can't stop thinking about it. A handheld Xbox could be hardware and app or both." All right. So Phil Spencer has tried all of the new PC gaming handhelds, the Asus ROG Ally, the Lenovo Legion Go, and the Steam Deck. He's impressed, but he can't shake one question. How would he make them more Xbox? He says, "I want my Lenovo Legion Go to feel like an Xbox," Spencer told Polygon in an interview during the annual Game Developers Conference. "I brought the Legion Go with me to GDC. I'm on the airplane and I have the list of everything that makes it not feel like an Xbox. Forget about the brand. More like, are all of my games there? Do all of my games show up with save files that I want? I'll tell you one game that doesn't right now, and it's driving me crazy, is Fallout 76. It doesn't have cross save." He says, "I want to be able to boot into the Xbox app in a full screen, but in a compact mode where and all of my social experiences there. Like I want it to feel like the dash of my Xbox when I turn on the television, except I want it on those devices." Says, according to Spencer, the Xbox hardware team led by Rowan Sones is considering different hardware form factors and things that they could go do as it plans the future of Xbox hardware. "What should we build that will find new players?" Spencer said. "That will allow people to play at times when they couldn't go play in the past." Now, let's take a break right there, okay? Because this idea is the one that they needed to have, that Nintendo, so, future looking, went ahead and did first with the Switch. They said, "You know what? Screw these side handhelds. Let's make it one market where all of our players have to buy this one product and all of our developers can make it for this one handheld." And they nailed it. And Xbox, they're finally seeing that this works.
I don't think that they're finally seeing. I think that, Nintendo found a way to do this. And instead of just hopping on that train, they kind of sat back and said, okay, well, let's see what it does. And it just made that impact, right? And it did what it needed to do. Nintendo made handhelds relevant. And so everyone else hopped on that train. And, Phil Spencer is living the life, right? He is a gamer in the industry and he says, "What am I missing? What do I want as a gamer?" And through those
Absolutely.
eyes, you are able to see things that in other companies, if they are involved in the gaming industry and they're not gamers, they cannot begin to imagine.
Yeah, this is the beauty of having a leader who is also a gamer, right? Like he's not like PlayStation where they don't they don't even know what gamers look like over there in leadership.
Or how to hold a
Um,
controller.
yeah. So over here we have actual people who are actually playing the product that they're selling to us. They are consumers of it as well. And obviously he's sitting there and he's looking at like, man, I really wish there was more like an Xbox. And you said it great, right? The Switch really, brought the handheld back, but they did it in a smaller way. I mean, not scale, but quality, right? Like it
Quality
the
Nintendo
same
games.
level graphics. So it's not something that when looking at them, you would just say, well, Xbox could have done this, right? But the people who did go ahead and really push it forward were your Valve with the Steam Deck, were Asus ROG Ally and the Legion Go, right? They're showing that there's a market for performance handhelds. Now, obviously, these are not the first ones, right? There was ones in the past, but these were the ones by major players making major moves, making them affordable so that the majority of people can do it. And honestly, this is the future I want. I want a mainline Xbox that's beefy and strong and can do everything I ever wanted. Have the AI, have the cloud power, have everything, machine learning, play my PC games, play my PlayStation games, play everything on there. And I also want to do the same exact thing on my handheld.
I mean, if Xbox came out here and delivered a handheld with the power of a Switch, I mean, it would be something to laugh at, right? They
Facts.
would go ahead and trash the handheld. And so this was a big decision to make because a lot of money would have to be invested once the decision was made to go ahead and deliver something that is great and worth having.
Absolutely. Let's continue on. It says in our expansive interview, Spencer described two approaches to making Xbox available on handhelds: the hardware versus the software approach. As he said, he has strong feelings about what a handheld Xbox device should feel like, but he also recognizes, having learned from the console business, that players may choose brands other than Xbox. For those players, Spencer wants to improve the Xbox handheld gaming software experience too, particularly for people who have devices running Windows like the Legion Go and the Ally. Now, I do want to stop right there for a second because when you hear what he's doing, when he says that he recognizes, having learned from the console business, that players may choose brands other than Xbox, this goes hand in hand with our last video where we were talking about Xbox going to be possibly bringing PC to the Xbox instead of making people choose whether they want to buy a PC or if they want to buy an Xbox. They get everything in one shot, right? They'll have one box that can play Xbox games or they can play their Steam games or their Epic games. And this is going to be a huge deal. And again, you see them kind of putting that same thought process on the handheld. They're like, listen, we have the handheld here and you'll be able to access everything, right? Obviously, if Xbox does it on the big system, it'll happen on the handheld. You can play your PC games, all that fun stuff. But they're also saying, listen, we're not trying to stop this. We're trying to go ahead and say, listen, you can go make your own handheld, but we want you to have the ability to have the identical experience as if we made our own handheld. All right. So moving on in the interview here, he says, I like the fact that Valve, Lenovo, and Asus went out and innovated in a new form factor. And I will say that when I'm playing on those devices, it almost feels more like a console than a PC 9 times out of 10. The things that usually frustrate me are more Windows based than device based, which is an area I feel some ownership of. Like, I want to be able to log in with a controller. I've got my list of things we should go do. Says Spencer has spent his tenure at Microsoft pushing Xbox to be both a console experience and a software experience that follows players wherever they enjoy games. That philosophy expands with his views on handheld gaming. From a game creator standpoint, Spencer said, I can then go build a single version of my game that spans more hardware and reaches more customers. Let me pause that for 1 second. This leads like this also leads credence to the rumors that the Xbox and the handheld were going to be the same spec.
Yes.
Remember that?
Mhm.
So if they're going to build a single version of the game, then that means you're not having the Xbox Series S versus X scenario, right? You're building one spec, and that game is going to go on your handhelds and on your console in one shot, which is dope. Um, and he says, I would say for players, it reduces the friction. Like if I want to go play my console games on the go with a handheld, I don't want to only be able to buy one brand of handheld, right? I want everything that we're doing in the hardware space to be great. But if somebody chooses to go play today somewhere else, I don't want them to feel like a lesser Xbox player,
Let's go.
which is phenomenal, right? Choice, especially when you think of power that can be put into these, handhelds. If you have them now competing on Xbox hardware, like hardware specs on handhelds, that would be
I
phenomenal.
also love the way he's presenting this. He's not trying to get in here and say, "We're our handheld for our Xbox players. This is your only choice, and this is what's happening moving forward." You have a choice to make, and that's okay, right? You can go ahead and use different handhelds if you are comfortable with that. And that these aspects that are missing for him are not missing for you. But for those that feel the way he does, here is your answer.
And this literally again goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about in our last video about the PC games and the PlayStation games that are ported to PC being able to run on the Xbox, right? Like he wants it to be where it's basically able to run anything you want on there on the console, and then he's doing the inverse on the handheld where he's saying, "We want you to play the Xbox handheld that we end up making, but we really don't care who else decides that they want to make an Xbox handheld. You already used to these other form factors. If Steam makes a Steam Xbox hybrid handheld, you know what I'm saying? Like they want you to be able to go do that. If Lenovo does the same thing, like this is all really like consumer focused, right? Phil wants to have the best available to people who invest in the Xbox brand. And I mean, honestly, he's really blowing my mind here with all the stuff that he wants to do out here. This is everything that I could have wanted him to do. This is what he's doing. I love the idea of having your Xbox be like a PC. That's phenomenal. And then I love the idea of having an Xbox handheld that feels just like turning on your console and being put right into it. That's that's crazy good, man. And it says over the past 7 years, we've seen the Xbox development team get creative with its hardware. I'm sorry, with its software, moving games to new platforms, building up the Game Pass subscription service, and making games playable on smartphones through streaming. As we wrapped our conversation, Spencer wouldn't outright announce an official Xbox handheld, which obviously he wouldn't do that here, but he did say he sees a similar level of creativity coming to hardware that Xbox has brought to software. You know
Wow,
why
I
he's
love
not
that.
doing that?
I love that.
Babe, you know why? Because it's not going to be just an Xbox handheld. It's going to be the console, just like the Switch is. Just I imagine with a beefier, back end that you can have there when you put it in. But
Yes.
that's why when he's looking at it, they're
You
gonna
don't wanna
iterate.
go ahead and say
Yes.
handheld when you know there's more to it that you're not ready to go ahead and speak on at the moment. This is amazing because, as much as, technology changes so rapidly, there are those that are also very hesitant to change when it comes to technology. And when you find your comfort zone and you're sitting there and you're like, "This is my Xbox," these handhelds do not feel like I am having an expansion of my Xbox. That's when things become a little bit more difficult.
I agree. I agree 100%. They do end here by saying, Phil Spencer says, I think it's important. You and I, we've been around for a couple of days. Look at the real inflection points in our industry. Like, look at the Wii. It was hardware innovation that was linked with great software innovation. And I think by bringing up the Wii, I think he's also going ahead and kind of saying, "Look at the switch. Look at what
Yes,
they did.
look
You
at
can
what
expect
came.
to see that here."
Yes, look at what came from the Wii, what came from the Wii U, and now we are here with the Switch. That is the evolution that they can potentially be looking for when it comes to the Xbox. And it's something that you and myself, C Money, have been asking for. Phil, get on it. Go ahead and give us that Switch experience with the Xbox, with Game Pass in it. That will be glorious. And it seems like it will be answered, see?
Absolutely. Now, my question is, Doodle, when you heard all of this, again, we've been hearing the discourse over on Twitter. We're in here talking about handhelds and things of that nature. Does that mean that the ponies are somehow gaining something other than another reason to just buy an Xbox associated product?
See, I haven't been paying much attention to Twitter, but what I have seen is this narrative of continuing to hang on to anything that makes anybody else out there feel as if Xbox is losing control or Xbox, they're broke and they need to put their games everywhere, as if PlayStation is somehow still winning. And when you go ahead and you do your research and you're so close to things, you come to realize that this is just the narrative. And you go ahead and you become almost numb to it because you do know that that's just the same nonsense that they continue to try to do in the same way to try to go ahead and dim the light. And listen, when you go and you have something as amazing as Phil has been building, it's going to get to a point where you can no longer knock it, where rumors cannot go ahead and take over because what's being done and what's really being said, right? Because this is what's being said, but we're going to see the product of all of this. I think it's just nonsense, and this will come to an end as well soon.
Well, this is the thing I'll leave us with here. Just keep in mind all the statements we've been getting out of PlayStation are how is about how things are too expensive. They have to find a way to make more money. They have to scale back. They have to do this. They have to do that.
We're
Meanwhile,
hearing
over
a big disconnect
yeah,
between the
meanwhile,
developers and PlayStation as well.
Agreed. Meanwhile, over on the Xbox side, we hear nothing but expansion, getting bigger, getting more. We're getting more games. We're going to have more ways to play. We're going to have bigger and better hardware. We're going to have hardware that makes it so that we don't have to buy additional hardware. We're going to be able to have PC right into our Xbox. There's so much positive. So, to all of the people who are customers of Xbox, to all the true fans of Xbox, when you see a pony out in these streets, talking the nonsense that they do, pay them no mind. They are so disheveled right now. They don't know what to do because they have nothing in their future. With that, we're going to end the show right now. Guys, if you liked what you heard, do us a favor. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and remember, we don't only do these videos, we do 4 live shows a week. So definitely make sure that when you subscribe, you hit the bell so you're notified when we go live. With that, Doodle,
Yes,
we're done.
we are.
Until next time,
You're intruding.
you're intruding.